Do you want to do more than follow orders, think outside of the box, and manifest your dreams? Then you've come to the right show. Welcome to the award-winning podcast, Holding Down the Fort by US VetWealth. I'm your host, Jen Amos, a Gold Star daughter, veteran spouse, and entrepreneur. For Season 7, I am ecstatic to be in partnership with the Rosie Network to highlight motivational stories of personal growth, financial awareness, and autonomy in our military community. Now, let's get started. All right. Hey, everyone. Jen Amos here. Welcome to, oh my goodness, the 200th episode of Holding Down the Fort by US VetWealth. And what better way to celebrate just such an incredible milestone than to bring on a very special guest. I mean, everyone's been special. This one is no exception. The founder and CEO of the Rosie Network, Stephanie Brown. In this episode 200, Stephanie shares how the nonprofit, the Rosie Network, began and her enthusiasm for promoting entrepreneurship within the military community. She discusses the traits common to military-connected entrepreneurs, the high rate of military spouse unemployment, and the importance of building a supportive network. Lastly, she highlights the importance of finding self-worth outside of traditional roles, the value of mentorship, the impact of overcoming fear, and the fulfilling nature of running a business. Stephanie, it's just been such an absolute pleasure having known you all these years, and such an honor to have had this collaboration with the Rosie Network for the last 2 seasons. To be able to feature the graduates, to be able to feature the Service to CEO program. I'm so grateful. In this conversation, you'll also hear how my husband, Scott, was involved in one of the first cohort programs of the Service to CEO program at the Rosie Network. So my husband will be on here with me. He'll be co-hosting with me. And I just hope that you all thoroughly enjoy this 200th episode with Stephanie Brown. Happy listening or watching, because this is also available on YouTube. Enjoy. All right, hey everyone, welcome back to Holding Down the Fort. I am ecstatic because in the last season, I had the fortune of interviewing entrepreneurs who graduated from the Rosie Network's Service to CEO program. And on occasion, I'll have my co-host here, Scott Tucker, aka my husband and business partner, join me. And now for this next season, we're so fortunate to finally get a hold of Stephanie and have her, first and foremost, the founder of the Rosie Network, talk about what it's been like to work with us, also talk a little bit about the history of the Rosie Network. And I wanted to bring my husband here today to also share his story, because to my knowledge, he was one of the first people to be a part of one of the original cohort programs. So without further ado, Stephanie Brown, welcome to Holding Down the Forts.
Well, I am really excited to be here. Happy New Year. We have known each other for a long time. And when you mentioned that Scott was in the first Service CEO program, it's funny because he was sort of a test subject. He didn't know that, but that whole experience, his feedback was also incredibly important to us. So getting us where we are today with Service to CEO would never have happened had it not been for folks like Scott, others willing to kind of go on this journey with us in the early days. So I'm excited to be here with both of you.
Yeah, Scott, because you actually knew Stephanie before I did. You introduced me to her and brought us to the Rosie Network, including our dog Stuggy, which is office mascot, as we used to call him.
That's right.
Scott, do you want to talk a little bit about that, the early stages of you being involved with the Rosie Network?
Yeah, I had just gotten to San Diego, and I was desperate to try a new idea out. I was really struggling in the financial advisory space. I really didn't even like being a financial advisor. Quite frankly, I thought the whole thing was kind of scammy. Yet I had gotten out of the military. I didn't know what to do. And I had an idea, and I was like, there's a different way to do this. And there's a way to focus on the military community in a unique way. And being in San Diego, there's always military people out there, but I didn't have any sort of structure. The mentor I had been relying on for a long time, I found out was really just using me as a way to bring him more business. And I thought, no, I want to actually create something unique and useful. And I heard about this Rosie network in San Diego because I had come from Germany, and there was no support for entrepreneurship. And I wasn't even an entrepreneur. I was just a sales guy. You know, when you're a financial advisor, that's what you really are. And I was like, I don't want to be just a sales guy. I think we can do something more here. But I didn't have anybody that believed in me or behind me. And I was doing all the things you're supposed to do. You go out and you network, show up at little events. And luckily, I showed up at this random event. I think it was for Chiefs getting their, they were holding something there. And sure enough, there was Stephanie Brown and the Rosie Network. And I remember I walked out, I said, oh, I heard about you. And you just said, hey, we're doing this new service CEO thing. You totally got to join and sign up. And I was like, I'm in, because I'm always a jump into the water, both feet first. That gets me in trouble sometimes, but I just saw the passion that you had, Stephanie, and obviously internally grateful for you just setting that up, let alone, taking me on board. Because I don't even know if I was the type of person you were thinking about or the type of business you were originally, planning around it. Because I know it was really set up for the kind of the military spouse thing. And so that's why I thought I might not be a good fit. But I realized, no, you're doing something much more than that. Obviously, we all got to start with a niche. And so to be able to have somewhere to go to on a monthly basis, to hear about different types of business, be in a room with other people who were starting off or kind of where I was. It's like I'm starting off, but I'm already in business. It was kind of an odd place to be. And you just gave me the okay. Scott, it's okay. There's a path forward. Look at all of these other people we've worked with. And you were just a huge inspiration of what was possible. I mean, to walk into that office space and to see all the plaques and stuff on the walls, I missed that space. And Stugie's right over here. So if he barks a little bit, he's saying hi. And hopefully we can see each other again in person soon. But I'm so glad we get to catch up right now.
No, likewise. It's funny, when you say, you're one of those people that just kind of jumps in, that is such a common characteristic when you talk about entrepreneurs. I certainly have it too. Sometimes I jump into more than I can handle, but I'm never afraid to jump in. You gotta be a little fearless, in this journey. But I somebody sent me a meme, which has always just stuck with me. It's like, it basically says, entrepreneurs, you got to jump off the cliff and build your airplane on the way down. Because if you wait until everything is perfect, it never happens. It never happens. You got to take that first step. And, it doesn't matter if you fall or fail 10 times. It matters if you get up 11, right? And I love too, your passion for really trying to educate and empower our community in a way that, just kind of exudes trust, right? Knowledge, skill, obviously you want that when you're talking about a financial advisor, but really more than anything, there has to be a level of trust because, none of us join the military or get married to the military to get rich. It doesn't happen, at least not off our military pay. But, the fact that you're helping our community be smart and wise about their financial choices, and you're doing it in a way that isn't just, hey, buy this, hey, invest here, do that. Because I know Tom and I over the years, we came across enough of those. So I love working with entrepreneurs that have a true integrity, first and foremost, a passion, a willingness to learn. Because none of us know everything, certainly myself included. I feel like I'm not an expert really on anything. I just have a real passion and determination to learn and listen. You learn by listening. Not every piece of advice is going to fit your need. It's just like when you first become a parent and everybody in the world comes up to you and go, oh, just wait, or you're going to experience this. Well, that may or may not be true, but your experience running a business is very personal. It's very personal. So I love working with people that have integrity, enthusiasm, and really a sense of purpose. And I think after all these years, and we're coming up on 12 years that the Rosie Network has been around, 12 years. Can you imagine? I'm still have to wrap my head around that. I have a lot more gray hair now than I did when we first started. I've earned every one of them. But, I think what I've learned over this journey is what we do is so much bigger than just helping people like you, Scott and Jen, launch and grow businesses. It's so much bigger than that. It really, at least the feedback that we're getting, what we're doing is helping people find purpose. Maybe that sounds a little touchy-feely, but and it was hard for me to wrap my head around, but it really is a sense of purpose. And I'm so grateful that, we've been around this long, but more importantly, that we've had an opportunity to meet and hopefully create impact on people in a community that, I grew up in, I married in, I've raised kids in. It's really it's an honor. It's really been an honor.
No, you definitely did that for me because I was just lost. Like I said, okay, I get the idea of business. Yeah, you create a value, you try to find the people who appreciate that value and you sell them something. Like the one thing I've learned over these years is it doesn't matter what business you're in the sales and marketing business. They didn't teach us that stuff in the Army. They didn't teach me that at West Point. You have to have a curiosity to build rare and valuable skills that, other people aren't willing to put the time and effort and some skin in the game and take a lot of risks to do it. But as I always say, what's the phrase where it's like the overnight success story took 10 years? How's that phrase go?
I love there's no elevator to success, just stairs.
Yeah. But, and to see the brand, it tied to the value and recognizing that you're a nonprofit, but that it was, working so well and that so many people were saying, oh, I see value here. So something is being sold because we're spending our time. So you can spend your time, your talent, your treasure in business or in, a nonprofit is a business. So the value that was provided to me in that moment was just saying, yes, there's possibility here. I've just got to keep at it until I figure this out. And I don't know when or what that's going to look like, but it's worth the effort because I got nowhere else to go. And that's the other thing is you kind of got to be at a spot where there is no backup plan, but you got to have the support network. And to know that you always had our back was just completely invaluable. And it allowed me, because I didn't necessarily have a purpose at the time. I just had an idea. And quite frankly, I remember one time we were sitting in your office and I knew about the survivor benefit plan and life insurance, but I was still trying to be all things to all. Yeah, I want to be financial person for veterans or for military people. That was still way too broad. And knowing that you were focused on military spouses primarily because of your story in the background, when you told me a little bit about your experience with the survivor benefit plan, hey, they didn't explain this to us well. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I've heard about this before from some of my other clients. Like, wait, you were an admiral's wife. Wait, what? They didn't know about this? I thought it was just kind of the younger people who were getting out. I was like, holy cow, this is way bigger. And it took me a few years. I went to a bunch of military financial related conferences and groups, and I got invited to something at USA, and I'm sitting in USA's headquarters. It's called the Digital Military Influencer Conference or something like that. And all the, the guru blogger types in the military financial space were in there. And the speech that the certified financial planner from USA, who was also a West Point guy, they were given data on, for the 7th year in a row, 55% of USA members say they're struggling day to day. And the whole room was just like, oh, wow, that sucks. And then they just went to the next slide. And the kind of whole day was like that. Everybody's talking about all the problems, we're having with not making enough money or budgeting and kind of the really basic, obvious financial stuff. Like, yeah, there's Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. Like that stuff's the standard stuff. But what about this problem that all these career military people are going to run into? Like nobody's talking about that. Oh, I see why. Because the assumption is that career military are going to make good money. They're going to be fine. They're going to go get a job. But well, here we are with a very senior military family frustrated about a benefit that they thought they earned. You served the 20, 30 years to earn this benefit, and then yet it doesn't feel like it's a benefit. It's actually more of a burden and a struggle. Like, that's a problem. Entrepreneurs solve problems. I can solve that problem. And that was the catalyst to us narrowing down to really, we only solve that problem primarily is, when people find us, they say, I don't like this thing. There's got to be a better way. And till now, we're now the only ones that are really solving just this problem. And that way people can say, aha, I feel better. Now I can go on and focus on the things that are more important in my life. In my post-military career, whatever that is, family, new passion, new job, go live on the beach somewhere. I don't care. I just don't want people struggling and wasting their time and energy on, what really could be just a quick yes or no decision, simply because of just the plethora of mediocrity in the information in this space. Just assuming everybody's average. Oh, let's lump everybody in the military to be the same. You're all wearing the same uniform. We know what your rank's going to be. Therefore, the guidance or advice on any topics, whether financial or otherwise, is pretty standard. But when I came out of the military, I didn't feel like the average, nor did I want to be. I wanted to go be myself. That's kind of the point of leaving the military, is this is now your opportunity to go do that. And whether or not people get into entrepreneurship or not, that's the opportunity I see is there. And for those who really want to take a next step, thank God you're there with the Rosie Network to give them a place to land, because just jumping in and saying, hey, I want to go start a business doing something and making it up as you go, like, that's not going to be the right way to go. So solving problems, I think, is what you inspired me to do most, because you solved my problem. Realizing that if you have an opportunity, you just got to give it the time, the talent, and then a little bit of treasure, quite frankly, a lot of treasure. When you're bootstrapping a business, that's the risk. But
which most of us are.
Most
startups
exactly.
in the military community are bootstrapped.
Right.
Veterans are way less likely to take out a business loan or even try, or when they do, get approved. So this is, for the most part, people that are bootstrapping it. They have a product or a service, an idea, a passion, a skill. And, some choose entrepreneurship out of need, and then some choose it out of they're just hardwired for it. Like, I'm hardwired for it. I love talking to people that have an idea. I love it. Nothing makes me happier, because I just not pick it apart in a negative way, but ask, I hope, some questions that make you think, and then open up ideas for, reevaluating or evaluating. Yeah, that really is going to work. Oh my God, I hadn't even thought maybe I could, shift to this customer base based on that. And I think what we do as an organization is we bring the skills, because you know what you know. Let's say you're building a widget. Nobody knows that widget better than you. No one is going to love your widget better than you. Sometimes you need a trusted group of people to tell you that your baby is ugly, your widget is ugly. I call it the cat magnet. Like, who is going to go out and buy a cat magnet, right? But doing it in such a way that is uplifting and not, you're in a safe environment with fellow military spouses or veterans who are in the same boat you are. But so yes, we bring the skill, we bring that, kind of brotherhood, sisterhood, trusted network, back and forth collaboration. Everybody wants to see everybody else succeed. We don't come across people that are in it to put other people down or, I'm better than you. We don't have those people. If they come, they are very, very quickly, they get discouraged and leave, because everybody is there to lift each other up and help each other out. I think, we also bring accountability, right? I mean, ours is not just a social networking. I mean, we have that. That's important, but this is a curriculum. So this, puts you through the work that you gotta do. And then we bring experts, subject matter experts across the board on legal, contracting, HR, marketing, everything that, you typically pay a boatload of money for. And we've talked about this. You write a check and you think, oh, this person's going to solve all my problems. And then lo and behold, they either disappear, they misrepresented themselves, et cetera, et cetera. And that costs you what? That costs it beats you down. You can get depressed, discouraged, you want to quit. So we bring those subject matter experts who volunteer of their time and their talent to the table, and they help us teach our program, which is, like I said, it's an actual college accredited curriculum now. When you graduate, you can get college credits for free if that's something you're interested in. And then we don't just go, hey, congratulations, you graduated, see ya. We continue to hold on to you. You can join our national alumni where we hold mastermind classes and we bring in speakers and people get to present an opportunity or challenge that they're facing and everybody kind of gets to pitch in. And that's what people need. That's what people need when you become an entrepreneur, or even if you're already an entrepreneur and you want to grow. And some of that means like, how do I prepare my business to bring in capital? Things like that. What's a profit loss statement? A lot of small business owners don't even deal with that. So we kind of teach them and give them some of those skill sets that they're going to need, because at the end of the day, if we can help them save money, time, and sanity, then we're winning, right? We're doing the right thing. And in some cases, not often, but in some cases, people realize, this really isn't for me. And that's okay. That's okay. It's not for everyone. But they learn that in a way that they feel good about it. Like, hey, I gave this a shot. Instead, I met somebody I really, really like, and I'm going to take my passion and skill and work with them. So it's, I like to think we become your network. We become your community. We're your tribe. So you can come to, go through our program, you meet, you create friends and, collaborate with other business owners that have a skill or a product that you need, and vice versa. That's really beautiful to watch happen. And it happens a lot, but you've got a team that you can turn back to and go, hey, I'm really struggling with this. I have an opportunity to lease some space. I don't know anything about commercial real estate. I've got a contract. It's 126 pages long. I can't afford an attorney. You got somebody you can go to, and we're not, we don't have all the answers, but we have over these 12 years built a phenomenal network and can, bring in someone that can help you. It's like, someone said, it's like, Stephanie, your team, I feel like someone's got my back. Someone's got my back. I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this journey. And I think that's invaluable. It's priceless. You can't trade that. And I've been a business owner even before I became a military spouse. I owned a couple of businesses, and then I met my husband, got married, moved away, and went from making more money than he did as this, lowly lieutenant at the Pentagon, to taking command, moving overseas, selling my business. And then I'm unemployed and unemployable and losing my sense of self, my sense of accomplishment, my value. So, it's being able to help people find that again it's awesome. It is. It's such a great feeling. I'm telling you, it's such a great feeling.
Yeah, I think one of the great takeaways early, like you said at the very beginning, what the Rosie Network is really doing is giving people a sense of purpose, making them feel like they're more than just, let's say, their spouse's rank or a stay-at-home parent or what have you. Like they can be that and many other things, and it can accommodate whatever they want to be, especially in business, it can be flexible to the military life.
Exactly. And when I moved overseas and Tom took command, and I met all these amazing military families. And again, I grew up in the military. My father was a Vietnam veteran, so I wasn't totally unfamiliar with the lifestyle, but being a spouse is very different than being a kid. But I realized that I wasn't alone, and there were a lot of other spouses in particular that were having the same struggle, especially living overseas, right? Can I get a job here? I don't speak the language. What are the laws? Even a remote job, there are restrictions against that, depending on what the SOFA agreement is through the State Department, on and on and on and on. So what I found was I began surrounding myself with other military spouses who were like me, they had been in a career and, kind of successful and driven. And And it kind of planted that seed in my head. And, years later, multiple deployments. I think we moved a total of 11 times in 20 something years, which is insane. And eventually kids came along on that journey. So let's add that in as a fun time, kind of navigating all that. But I realized that military spouses in particular, the unemployment rate and underemployment rate were astronomical compared to the civilian community. And so I started diving into it and learned that, hey, we hold higher levels of education than our civilian counterparts. We're underemployed. Those that are employed still make 25 to 30% less for the same job than their civilian counterparts, right? I became a military. I tried to get a job at the NEX overseas. And I remember I got a meeting with the manager, and a couple of weeks went by, nobody called me back. And I ended up walking in and talking to the secretary. She's like, oh, he's already hired somebody. Don't bother. And I remember walking out of there going, oh my gosh, how am I going to survive? This is not good. I wasn't made for not doing anything. Not that raising kids is the hardest job on the planet. I'm just going to tell you right now. There's no job I've ever had that's been harder than that and more rewarding. But still, I walked away thinking, wow, what do people do? Fortunately, Tom is an officer, but what about younger enlisted families with kids? We're living basically paycheck to paycheck. How are they surviving? And that kind of popped. I thought, well, I know entrepreneurship. My dad got out, retired, started a music store in California. I worked on it in the weekends and kind of learned behind the scenes. I loved it. That's sort of where I like to think I caught the bug for, being an entrepreneur. But I thought there's got to be a way to, help spouses, even if it's just making enough money to make a car payment or go on a vacation. I don't care what your idea of success is. You define that for yourself, right? You want to be the next Facebook or big tech or whatever the case may be. That's great. That's wonderful. We'll help you do that. But if it's just something on your spare time that gives you a sense of accomplishment and self and put some money in your pocket, you're just as important to us as anybody else. And I started working with spouses that, wanted to take that journey because I'd done it several times successfully and not so successfully. So, I kind of wish that Service to CEO, our program, had been around for me back in the early days, but I'll never forget meeting one spouse. This is pretty funny. I'm older, right? I'm in my 60s. So, when I started my career after college, we didn't have the internet. And I remember sitting at one of the very first computers and man, people would laugh. The thing took up, the size of a desk. So their internet and all of that, e-commerce certainly opens up a lot of opportunities for military spouses today. But, back then it was a totally different matter. But I remember Navy Club had asked me to come and speak to military spouses here in San Diego. This is a while ago. And they said, hey, can you talk about personal branding? And I thought, geez, I don't know. What is personal branding? What is that? Because I'm, again, a little bit different generation. So I had to educate myself. And one of the things that we did, I put everybody through this exercise. And one of the questions I asked in the very beginning was, they had a piece of paper. I want you to write 5 adjectives that describe yourself. And you can't use the words mother and military spouse. Do you know how many spouses struggled filling that out? 5 adjectives, and not military spouse, not mother. On the way home, one of them called me up and she was laughing, but in tears. She said, what you talked about, Stephanie, paving your own way, being your own boss, turning even your volunteer passion into a small business, right? And the advantages of that just blew my mind. She goes, I felt when I had to sit there and write those 5 adjectives and I literally couldn't think of anything because my whole life and identity is military spouse and mother and has been for so long that I've lost, myself. I've lost my purpose outside of those 2 roles. She said, now I know what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And, it was, we kind of cried, and laughed and got all excited. And that's what feeds me, I think. And that's what feeds our team, is helping people discover that. And, it's been an incredible journey. I've learned a lot. I tell you, I learned more from people like you, Scott, who are living it, walking it, both of you guys. I'm helping people. I'm maybe mentoring people. I'm speaking. I'm advocating. I love being an advocate. I love fighting the fight to get laws passed that help military spouses and veterans, successfully launch and grow, removing some of those barriers. Now, there is nothing that lights the fire in my gut than going, this is unfair, and fighting to make that change. But you guys are the ones out there doing the real hard work every single day in and day out, taking that risk. But you know that you're part of a bigger community and that there are people standing there that got your six that you can turn to and go, hey, I need help with this. Or, hey, I want to share this opportunity. I think it would, be a good fit for you. You just can't duplicate that really easily.
That reminds me a lot of me, because you say you've been at this 12 years now. And if I think about when I got started in self-employment, essentially, it was about 2008, 2009. I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. But now you look at the community, the military entrepreneurship community, it's huge now. There's so much interest in all levels of veteran business, military spouse businesses. And a lot of that really started from the advocacy. Because if there aren't people out there like you doing that, a lot of times we don't even know there's people out there doing that kind of stuff, or it's even needed to be done, or that we're even called entrepreneurs. And it took me a while to even, put that hat on my head. When you even go into the service to CEO program, I was like, CEO of what? I don't quite get it. It's like, no, you can just be the boss of yourself. That's what self-employment is. It's the same thing. Like, sometimes these words get a little flowery, but, for me, that was the opportunity to really say, no, I'm doing something different. And therefore, it's not just going to be a role. Like, even when I was self-employed for a financial firm, no, that's not entrepreneurship. That's sales, which is fine. Those are great skill sets to have, but to really take control, give yourself the opportunity, because I didn't have any passion for that. I was doing something for other people. And it wasn't even about money. It was just saying, if I want to have control of my time, exactly what I'm doing, and making sure, and this was key for me, serving only those whom I'm meant to serve and no one else. And that's what you were doing by serving me and not wasting time trying to, be in all things to all people. And I was at the Small Business Association on behalf of the Rosie Network in DC a few months ago. And, they were doing a program for military spouses. They're starting it new, but it's like the Small Business Association is just now considering doing a military spouse program. Oh, it's because they're trying to be all things for all American small businesses. And of course, they're a government organization. That's what they're supposed to do. But it's just, example saying, hey, the more that you can niche down, then the more passionate it becomes, the more you surround yourself with more like-minded people, and the quicker you can realize what's not a good fit for you. And like you said, that's okay. And it also reminds me of a mentorship call I had through the Rosie Network with someone who had gone through the cohort. This is, 3 years ago, I think. And she was just really struggling with figuring out like, what do I need to do next and stuff. And so I was asking her, well, what's wrong? Tell me. She's like, I just feel like a piece is missing. And I said to her, well, what pieces do you have already? And she just went, oh, I've got all the pieces. Like, I'm in the Rosie Network. I got my idea. I know, who I want to serve. There's no missing pieces. It's just a matter of eventually, and it's not going to happen overnight, and you're not going to listen to this podcast and go, oh, I also have all the pieces. But give yourself the opportunity to get there, right? That's why you probably know the stats better than anyone. 9 out of 10 businesses fail. And so they make it sound like, oh, this is why you shouldn't get an entrepreneurship. No, 9 out of 10 of them fails because they don't give enough time. There's no school for this, right?
Well, 9 out of 10 businesses fail within the first, I think it's 3 years or first year or 3 years that don't have mentors. So your likelihood of succeeding increases greatly if you have a mentor. And one of the things I preach all the time is don't go it alone, build a team, right? Build a team. How to build a team. What are the seats on the bus for that team? What do you need? You're good at, let's say you're good at interior design, but you're not good at marketing and you're not good at filing all the correct paperwork, and you're not good at keeping the books and invoicing and so on and so forth, all that good stuff. So, those are seats that you need on your bus, people that are good at that. So if you can now, and then you say, well, I can't afford to hire those as employees. Well, they don't have to be employees. They can be part of your advisory team, right? Build an advisory team and be on somebody else's advisory team, right? The skills and the passion and the knowledge that you have, you can bring to benefit somebody else, because what you give out, you get back tenfold, right? If you're just out there to get for yourself, this is a small enough community, people figure it out pretty quick. And then you find yourself on an island. If you are putting out there that you want to help, you want to share your knowledge, your passion, then you end up getting that back. So build that team. And it doesn't have to be employees. It doesn't even have to be a company that you hire right away, but it can be a trade-off, or it can be, finding mentors, finding advisors. And you don't have to just have one, and it doesn't have to be a marriage. If you need help in the financial part of your business, find a mentor that will help you do that. If you need help learning how to build a website, find a mentor that will help you do that. Or an organization, et cetera. So there's more than one way to skin that cat. And I think sometimes people get so hung up on trying to solve that one particular problem that they allow it to defeat them, right? They allow it to defeat them. Well, a piece is missing. Yeah, the piece that's missing is you taking that leap. Take the leap. Mm-hmm. Your first podcast might be terrible, and you might have 2 people that listen to it. So what? You did it, right? You did it. One call I was on, someone, and super smart, has such a great business idea. She was in one of she was in our Fort Belvoir chapter in Virginia. And I had a one-on-one call with her, and she's like, Stephanie, and we went over her pitch, her deck, and all of her assets and all the research. And I said, this is incredible. This is incredible. And she goes, well, I just don't feel, she was like struggling. And I said, what is holding you back? What's holding you back? And it turns out something very common: fear of failure. We as human beings, our brains are hardwired to avoid failure, right? So to avoid failure, which can cause physical, emotional pain, our brain wraps fear around it. So, hey, one way to, avoid being hurt physically, emotionally, financially is to be afraid of it. And that was it. And then it was, I feel like I'm an imposter. Somebody asked me to come and speak on that subject. And again, I'm going, oh my God, what is imposter syndrome? So I really had to look it up and educate myself. And I thought, maybe I'm, I grew up with a lot of siblings, right? We were an enlisted family. So it was basically, you had to fight and scratch and, claw for attention, for anything like that. So maybe just because of the way I grew up, there aren't a lot of things that I'm not willing to try. So maybe I'm a little braver or a little bit more crazy and willing, but that apparently is an issue that a lot of people struggle with. Well, how can I say I'm a financial advisor? Am I really, there are so many people out there smarter than me. It's not that, right? It is that you're unique, or I can't sell this barbecue sauce. There's 2 million types of barbecue sauce out there. So what? You're unique first and foremost. So what makes your barbecue sauce unique? Focus in on that. And it turns out to be the recipe from your great grandmother who came over, on a boat, and, so on and so forth. That's one of the things that makes it unique. First of all, you're a military spouse, you're unique. You're a veteran, you're unique, right? So glam onto that. Make sure you're letting people know, hey, I'm a veteran. I served, or I'm a military spouse. I supported my spouse during their service. I sacrificed too. Don't be afraid if you're comfortable with it, but don't be afraid to, that's one of the things that makes you unique. So don't let the obstacles become this wet blanket and feed that inner fear that you have. You know what I mean? Surround yourself with cheerleaders, with your own cheerleader. Like, you can do it, Scott. Come on, you were supposed to send me that, mock-up last week. I didn't get it. Let's go. Come on, you can do it. Send it to me. That you need those people in your life. And I think that's one of the things that, the Rosie Network brings to the table. But I'll tell you, early on, I was all about military spouses, right? Because I was one. My mother was one. I felt like, wow, man, we're proud and we're honored to serve and we love our service member and we're there, we're committed and we're willing to make that sacrifice. But, there's also comes a time where you're going, well, geez, we're kind of struggling here, or I'm getting bored, or I've totally lost my sense of self, or whatever the reason may be. Military spouses forever. I mean, even going back to when my mom was one, we were a second thought. When Tom took command, I walked in and his command master chief at the time, I'll never forget, he said to me, and this is apparently so totally old saying, if the Navy wanted you to have a spouse, they would have issued you one in your duffel bag or whatever, and I thought, whoa. So I think there's been a lot of push to overcome that. I think that, it is a lot of data and stuff comes out, that when military spouses are employed, the transition experience is better. The families are more secure. It actually improves the marriage. When a military spouse is employed, it improves marriages. It improves, it makes happier kids, happier households. There's, so whether it's entrepreneurship or, getting a regular job that you enjoy, that is critically important. And more people from the government, from the Department of Defense are beginning to recognize that. But the first thing is, having those conversations and just being there to encourage someone to go, you can do this. Even if you fail, you can do it. Don't let fear suffocate you. Surround yourself with people that are going to support you and encourage you, and just do it. You got everything you need. Quit waiting for it to be the perfect time. Quit waiting for your kids to graduate from school. Quit waiting for your husband or your wife to retire. Do it. Take one step every single day towards your big, hairy, audacious goal, and you will get there eventually. The road may change, right? You're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to hit red lights. You're going to hear no, 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 no. But you will get there. You won't get there if you give up or if you let fear be the master.
And that is it right there. The only thing is, the fear is fear itself. No, the imposter syndrome is so real, because when you said that just went right back on. Right before I joined the Rosie Network, it was when I was starting to dabble. Okay, my mentor kind of ditched me. I was just the paperwork guy, it turns out, and I was good at bringing in leads for the business. I mean, obviously it helped me. I learned a lot about the business, but I learned about what I didn't want to do. And so I said, okay, I got to go create my own brand. And I hired a web designer. We spent 6 months, did photo shoots and stuff. It was ridiculous. But when we got the website done, she said, okay, now when you start blogging, I was like, blogging? What am I going to write about? I got nothing to write about. All the, remember what Roth IRAs? Like, there's tons of blogs out there about that. And what it was is because I, at the time, still wasn't willing to admit that, no, I'm not doing the old way. That's why I left the old way. I have a new idea. I need to lean into that and be who I am, and which is basically the opposite of what the traditional methods are. So when I got inspired by the Rosie, because look what you had created just from solving that problem. And then as I narrowed down, what it is I can offer uniquely different, and the voice started to come. And, now I've written 4 books, and I got another one coming out here soon. And I don't know if anybody read a couple of them. It didn't matter. I just had to get the ideas out of my head. And that's why I think one of the best ways to get out of the imposter syndrome method is you have to learn to communicate. Like all businesses, at some point, you're going to need to communicate a message of why you're different. And if you're not willing to figure that out, it took me years to figure out how I was different. But I was willing to seek it. And that takes time of getting a lot of those no's. That didn't work. That didn't work. That worked. That didn't work. That worked. Oh, okay. Well, this guy gave me some feedback, or he asked me a question nobody had asked before, and I had a good answer for him. And they said, thank you. Talk about it. Write about it. We've got to build the skill set of communication. So writing, speaking, video. It's easier than ever. Look what we're doing right now. Like you can get stuff on Amazon. No matter what it is you're selling, you got to find a way to be able to communicate it. Otherwise, it's just going to take longer. But like me, it took way too long because I wasn't willing to try for a while. But because I stuck out it, eventually it just manifested. Like eventually you just learn so much about your audience, again, whom you're meant to serve and only meant to serve. Like who fills you up when they go, oh, thank you, right? Versus someone's like, well, what about this? What about that? Just stop dealing with those people. Like you don't have to be all things to all people anymore. And the more that you just be yourself and learn how to communicate what's important to you about what you do best, there's enough people out there. They're going to find you.
People are drawn to people who are authentic. Not to overuse a word that you hear all the time, but it's true. People are drawn to those that are honest and authentic. You can always, some of us, the older you get, I think, hopefully the easier it is to identify early on those that aren't, right? They're in it for themselves, or their purpose is very different than yours. So, but people are drawn to that, and not everybody is going to want to work with you or purchase your product or your service. And that's okay. You can't. It's literally impossible to be everything to everybody. And I think the sooner you learn that, the sooner you'll determine who your business is really for. And always listen to your customers. Some customers you have, you may learn, hey, I'm spending more time and effort keeping this person as a customer than I would going out and finding 5 more customers. But it's typically the energy and effort that you spend in keeping a customer it's a lot cheaper than going out and trying to find 5 more. But so, it's just such a great journey. I'll tell you what we touch on in the very first module now, Scott, is what you talked about, right? Because we want folks to identify really from the get-go. And again, even if you have an existing business, in fact, some of the folks that have businesses go, can I skip that one? I don't really think I need that. And I said, no, you will need this one, this module, and what we're going to cover, right? More than you'll need the others. And we'll talk after you go through all of them and you come back to me and you tell me whether I was right or wrong. But it is that, what drives you? What is your why? Why are you doing this? Who are you doing it for? Trying to figure that out, because if you know that, then when you do hit those roadblocks, it's a lot easier to go through them or around them. Okay. And we've had people come and go through that they knew exactly what they wanted to do. And lo and behold, halfway through, they have an epiphany and realize this is not what I want to do. I want to completely change my business model. And they completely shift from, doing this to doing that. They still want to be their own boss, but going through the process has opened something up that they realize, whoa, I don't want to design stationery. I want to be an author. Things like that. So
I do recall, like in some of the interviews we've had here at Holding Down the Fort, people will say, I came in with one business, I came out with another. So I could definitely confirm that with the guests we've had on our show.
Well, that was my experience as well, because even when I was going out on my own, I created that first website, I thought I was still trying to be a traditional financial advisor. And once I recognized, no, that already exists. There's one of those on every corner, or a financial, coach or someone just sharing, standard financial knowledge. And so this is also something that can stop people. What would happen to me is the more I would address what it is I do best and was unique, and was unique, the more the haters would come. The people who were doing it the traditional way. They would write me Facebook direct messages, send me emails. We don't like what you're doing. We think this is the wrong way. You shouldn't be telling military and veterans this. And I was like, I wouldn't respond. And frankly, I would take it very personally, but I would ignore it. And eventually it would just kind of go away, because I realized you guys are just trying to be like everybody else. That's not entrepreneurship in the traditional sense. Maybe it's a business or whatever, but it's not for everybody. You're trying to give everybody. And this is the problem with general guidance for the military communities, is just saying, no, it all needs to look the same for everybody. Well, that leads to mediocrity. Not everybody getting out of the military wants to be treated the same. Some of them, maybe it's only 1% of our community, But can you serve that 1%? Find your 1% that somebody else isn't serving, right? Don't get dissuaded by the people who don't like things going against the grain from the way they do it in little groups. Like, that's where real opportunity to grow exists. And so
that's so true.
That's what's happened for us. And, I laugh at those experiences now because I see where those people are and they're still doing the same old thing.
They're still doing the same old thing. Exactly. And I think, if you're absolutely right. It's because part of that is once you find that, you enjoy what you're doing a lot more too. Right? Because you're doing what is right for you and that there are people out there that you're helping. And that at the end of the day is, I think, the greatest feeling. It's always nice when you get a check too, but it is the greatest feeling when you feel good about what you're doing because you're providing a value to other people that they're willing to pay for. Yeah, that's that.
For me, the big thing about getting the check that was a big lesson learned was not expecting it to come every 2 weeks. Like, what if it takes 2 years, but it's a bigger paycheck? Can you give yourself that opportunity to find the right person to serve who's going to translate it to something where, one, it might be a bigger paycheck and it feels better. It's just not on the standard timeline that we were kind of brainwashed into how things are supposed to work. The traditional every 2 weeks you get a paycheck and your LES. Like, that's not how the world works. Like, all these businesses that exist in America, we're the capitalist country. Because it's such a small percentage of people who are business owners, unless we grew up with parents that were business owners, we just don't even know it exists. But
it's an option,
every shop
right?
you go to, every time you get gas, like, it's all businesses. Somebody started it once, and there's no better country in the world to do it. And being related to the military community and doing it with all these resources, the pats on the back that we have going for you, the extra benefits you can get when it comes to things like loans or whatever. Like, we just have so much going for you. Again, it's not for everybody,
the community.
But if it is for you, yeah.
We are a very loyal community, unlike any other community out there. And I've read about it. I've researched it. I've surveyed and interviewed on this particular topic. So it's true. You already have a built-in network to a certain extent. You already have a built-in network. So, finding it again, when you get those bad messages and those, push downs for whatever their motives may be, they don't really matter, but you need somebody to kind of do a check. That's what you have your trusted group for. Hey, Scott, somebody just direct messaged me and said, why should I do service to CEO? There's this, that, and the other thing. Are we doing it right? I just need that kind of affirmation because we're all human. Mm-hmm. That's what you build that network and have that team for. And, because it's the ones that pick you back up, that help pick you up, because it's, again, not how many times you fail, it's how many times you pick yourself up from failing, because we're all going to fall. Believe me. Even I
mean, forward, right?
Yeah. Fall forward, but even we've had months where I had to, over the years where I've had to turn to the team and go, look, times are hard. We've got money coming in, but it's going to be 60, 90 days until it hits. I'm giving you the choice. Do you want to hang in there and get back pay and there's no worse conversation in the world to have to, having people depend on you. Boy, that's why I have gray hair. But if you build a phenomenal team of people, it's an extraordinary feeling too. And they're in it because they love the community as much as you do. But, you're going to fail. You're going to mess up. You're going to make bad decisions. But it's building that network of people that care and that are going to be honest with you and want to see you succeed will help you get through those times. I get asked that a lot. So that's why I say don't go through it alone. You don't have to. You have incredible people. And Scott, you went through the early version of the program. And then when we set up the online mentor matching, you raised your hand. You're like, oh yeah, I'm on board. I'll be a mentor. I mean, if you can build an organization and a network where you have people like Scott and Jen who go, what do you need? What do you need? I'm here. Then you're successful. So I encourage people to keep them.
And, this is why we're so grateful to have this partnership with the Rosie Network and our company and the show Holding Down the Fort, because this is our way of giving back, to everything that you've given us. So, we're just incredibly appreciative. And we hope that, the entrepreneurs who are on the show end up getting more exposure out there because of the show. And again, it's just a way of paying it forward, to everything that you and your team has done for us.
Well, we're in it together.
That's the one thing we learned. We learned how to do the marketing. Like, it's like, oh, okay, we're good at this now. Like, happy to share. Like, the more that we can help each other helps everybody.
I've had plenty of numerous conversations with the guests who just ask about podcasting or marketing advice. And I'm always more than happy to share because I'm like, at this point, it comes naturally to me. And I don't realize how much I know until people are so fascinated by what we've been able to produce. And I'm like, well, I'm more than happy to share because you're a business owner. You want to get your name out there. I know that if I share this with you, you will likely do something with it versus someone who's just trying to pick my brain, outside of the Rosie Network. And a lot of times they don't end up doing anything with it, which is, a waste of my breath whenever I'm in those situations. But anyway, we are over the hour and I just want to make sure I respect everyone's time. Stephanie, I just wanted to check in with you. Any final parting message you want to share, with Holding Down the Fort, maybe with the entrepreneurs, the graduates who've been through our show or, just to us in general?
Yeah. And I love the fact that we're telling you guys with you, we're telling these stories, right? Because it's really it's not about Stephanie's story. It's, really not even about the Rosie Network story. Our story is the stories of all these entrepreneurs, all these, transitioning service members, veterans and military spouses, and now even military kids through our military kidpreneur program.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's amazing.
I see that on LinkedIn all the time. I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh, I can tell you it's one of the funnest things I think I've ever done. In fact, they don't even let me in on the classes anymore because I can't stop giggling because they're all so cute. They're all so cute. And I love them. They're entrepreneurs in their own right. But in my mind, I keep seeing, my boys at that age. And I'm like, they're so cute. They're so smart. They know way more than I did at that age. Yeah. So be a part of the community. If I would just encourage anybody listening, if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but you're an accountant or you're really good with the tax code or whatever, and you want to share of your time and talent and treasure, we're a nonprofit. Everything goes back into our program. Mm-hmm. But, reach out and connect with us because, our entrepreneurs need you too. They need you too. We need mentors. We need subject matter experts. We need advocates and ambassadors. I mean, I like to say, just imagine how our community of military entrepreneurs would be impacted if every one of us as military community members made a commitment to buy or hire a veteran or a military spouse small business. Just imagine if we alone, just our community in the whatever, how many veterans are out there in the US? What is it, 21 million or something?
Sounds
just
about right.
imagine if our community made that commitment to our small business owners and budding entrepreneurs. It would be a game changer, an absolute game changer. So, think about that. If you're listening in, take the leap. Don't be afraid. You're not alone. Join the Rosie Network. We're here for you. We become your family. We got your six, right? And if you want to listen to other entrepreneurs and their stories, follow Jen and Scott, right? Sign up for this podcast because Jen interviews our entrepreneurs all the time. And you're going to learn something from each and every one of those interviews, I promise you.
Yeah.
And then donate your time, donate your expertise, give back. Because like I said, it comes back to you tenfold. Thank you for having me. You guys are like family. For how many years ago we kind of started this, crazy thing together, and give Stoogie, our, unofficial Rosie Network mascot, a big hug and a sloppy kiss. And hopefully this year we'll have an opportunity to see each other in person.
Yeah, I hope so as well.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Stephanie. Hey, this is your host, Jen Amos. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of Holding Down the Fort by US VetWealth. Visit holdingdownthefortpodcast.com to access the full show notes of this episode, including resources mentioned and bonus content. Once again, that's holdingdownthefortpodcast.com. Lastly, stay after this outro music for something a little extra. Thanks again and chat soon. Bye for now. Hey everyone, thank you for hanging out for the post commentary. I wanted to share that if you've been following me on YouTube, if you've been watching these episodes on YouTube, you'll notice that I have a different background. That is because at the time of this recording, this outro recording, I officially have an office again. I talk about this openly and candidly in our private podcast called Inside the Fort, which is available to you today for free by joining us on our portal. All you have to do is visit holdingdownthefortpodcast.com/portal and you'll be able to join for free. But yeah, I just gotta take a moment here to capture this milestone. I'm doing this outro in May. As of right now, it's May 23rd, the time that I'm recording this outro or this post commentary. It's over 80 degrees outside. We don't have our AC fixed at the moment. We're getting that fixed. And so I have this handy dandy portable AC blasting in my face right now. But it's great because, like I said, it's been a long time coming to have a private office again. I moved out of my private office at a co-working space back in November of 2023, and now it's May 2024, and I've been up here for, I think, like 2 weeks now, and I just gotta tell you, it's been quite the game changer. I've been incredibly productive, and I feel that for any entrepreneur that works from home or works remotely can understand the struggle of finding a private space where there are minimal distractions from family, from pets, all the things that a home brings. And so, yeah, I just want to not only capture this moment, this 200th episode with Stephanie Brown, but also the moment that I have a private office again. So I don't know if you care, but like I said, for any entrepreneur that knows what it's like to struggle having that, place to work, I have it, and it's been great these last 2 to 3 weeks. So anyway, if you want to learn more about my journey as a podcaster and an entrepreneur and how all of this is possible, how we were able to, achieve 200 episodes, even with the chaos of life, like I said, you can join our portal for free today by visiting holdingdownthefortpodcast.com/portal. All right. Thanks so much for listening or watching, because again, this is available on YouTube, and we'll chat with you in the next episode. Tune in next time.